Go ahead.
Ready?
Yep.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the November board meeting of the ErieNet Local Development Corporation. The time now is 2:03 p.m. I'd like to take a quick roll. Jason Keating. Present. Mark Beyer.
Here.
Elizabeth Freeze.
Here.
Mark Cornell.
Present.
John Mills. Here. Jeremy Toll. Here. Stan Castle. Here. We do have a quorum in the room. Also joined by Matt Kreider, Dorinda Darden from the library, and Jan Mathis online from BOCES. Showing absent is Nolan Skipper and Mike Breeden. We are expecting Legislator Gilmore, but he has not yet arrived. And with that, I'm going to our first order of business, which is approval of the minutes from our October meeting. No discussion or changes? We'll move it by Martha Beyer. Have a second. Dan Castle, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. There is no report of the chair this month, so we can move right into number 3, our executive director's report.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the financial report, which you can locate all those reports now on the SharePoint. If anyone has an issue getting into SharePoint, just let us know. But everything should be in there. That's just to cut down on the amount of paper that we print every month. So we'll be doing like the bare minimum. The only real thing on the spending is that we're spending. We're in obviously the bulk of our construction, and our bills each month are quite substantial. We were able to reinvest the entire amount, which was just over $1 million, in the last one, which was probably towards the end of October. And then we have a just over $2 million investment coming due at the end of next week. And our anticipation is that we'll pull all of that for bills that we're holding to be due for that upcoming investment, and then bills that will be due in the following month. We may be able to reinvest around $500,000. We're just kind of making a decision on that now. Nothing else really on the financial report. Some Connect All updates. So we were able to sign the incentive proposal, which moves us into the next stage, which is a public hearing that will happen around the 18th, I think, of December, mid-December.
The board
meeting
meets
the 18th, yes.
And then
it follows.
Once the board approves, then there's 2 public hearings that will happen in January.
Yep, and we do not set those up. Connect All sets those up. The only thing we do is pay for the $100 notice or so. Once we get through those public hearings, we'll be in the process, now that the incentive proposal, will be in the process of negotiating the GDA. And that will really solidify what ErieNet agrees to do in the project for the MIP funding of the $5 million. So if there's anything that needs to be adjusted, it'll be adjusted in that negotiation. In the meantime, however, just as I said, I think the last couple of months, we are moving forward with the project. We are spending money. We have the ability to spend the money for reimbursement. We anticipate potentially our first reimbursement in January for the first part. It might get pushed off depending upon how the GDA negotiations go. Now, MIP previous projects in previous phases, there are some of them that are still negotiating their GDA. Our project is not that large. It's not as complicated maybe as some of the others. So we're hopeful that that process should go pretty smoothly and that we should be able to get through this process quickly. We do meet weekly. Matt, myself, and Courtney sit with MIP on weekly meetings on Tuesdays, and we go over the project. We have an extensive spreadsheet that Matt's team updates with a lot of technical aspects of the project. And really what that is to make sure that we are meeting dates and points to progress to this December of 2026 deadline date, because their ARPA funds are deadline. So we feel pretty confident that we're moving towards that right goal. I don't know, do you want to add anything else on the MIP stuff?
No, it's just we can't make our first milestone without the GDA in place. So that means And we'll complete our first milestone around the turn of the year, but we won't be able to file for reimbursement for the GDA's employees. So that'll be, probably we'll be invoicing in February.
Have they confirmed in writing that they will reimburse costs incurred before contracts?
Yeah,
negotiated?
we have a date. It's
August
August
15th.
Yeah, 15th.
Okay.
Anything incurred after August 15th is allowable. And what we learned today, if we did incur some expenses, perhaps we bought fiber, right, earlier in the year, then we can file an exemption form and, you know, as long as we show that it was allocated for the MIP portion and it's still in inventory and we show the receipts, they'll reimburse us for that.
Which is good because we probably have some fiber. Yep, that we'll be using for that. Yeah. I'm still trying to work on getting a meeting set up with very little luck to talk about the network equipment and the denial for those. The good news is Matt's team and our team have been working with the county on a 911 grant that potentially would cover the majority of those costs. So for the county's aspect of it, that could be reimbursed through a different grant, which would be a great savings to the county.
It'll cover the majority of the 911 PSAPs.
Yeah.
It's like $655,000.
Is that to get them next generation ready?
I don't know
I think-
exactly what the grant
so.
is. The ones I've had in the past are called an interoperable grant that New York State collects funds for, and then they divvy it up across the different jurisdictions.
Next generation requirements are now rolling out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we gave them, you know, the equipment list and the budget number to submit, and we'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
And I'm not sure, when will we hear about that? Did you tell us
He
that?
didn't say.
Okay.
Is that through emergency services? What's the department?
Emergency services, but Mike Breeden was working on it also.
It may be, because it's 911, is it central police?
Central Police Services?
It's all of them,
If
yeah.
you want help on that, I'm happy to help.
Okay,
If
we
they
could let,
want.
it's not our grant, it's the county, but we could ask. Yeah. So that's the,
It gave the grant criteria, and it seemed to line up very nicely
yeah.
with what we had to
Great.
offer. That's
Mhm.
great.
so that's Connect All update. City of Buffalo, so they had an attorney change. Their long time attorney is retiring or has retired. And so we have met again with the city's new attorney that's working on our IRU process. They seem motivated to move through the IRU process. We feel good about the updates we've given them. Andrew, our attorney, is working with their attorney on some outstanding questions. The good news is we had a similar process going with the county. We had a really productive meeting for the IRU, and that seems to be in the late stages of close to being able to be signed. I think they're waiting on Andrew, who thought he would have it in by the end of today for the changes. So that helped us kind of steer a little bit of the conversation with City of Buffalo. City of Buffalo wanted to see this county's IRU. We didn't feel comfortable with that. But we've been forthcoming on some of the same issues that they have and how we address that with the county. So I'm feeling pretty good about the City of Buffalo IRU negotiations. The unfortunate part is, since we didn't get the network equipment for the City of Buffalo, it becomes a very expensive project as far as their network piece, which is unfortunate. And I'm sure everyone reads the paper, so they could probably use some funds.
How much? You see the
What
city's
was the
portion.
city's?
Probably a little more than $1 million.
Yeah, at 1.1 or something sticks in my head, 1.2.
The fact, though, is that the city has to life cycle their network equipment. No matter what, they have aged equipment.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
maybe they could put it off another year.
Yeah, hopefully, with some fresh eyes and
Yeah.
new administration, we can figure something out.
And if they want, we can bring Sienna in and see if there's some ways we could skinny down the budget. You know, maybe go with a little lesser router, but it would fit. The city might still be able to use the.
Couple other updates. So your board of directors meeting dates are attached to here. The only thing I have a question on that is I kept the 2 p.m. time frame, but thought I'd open it up for discussion to see if anybody wants to or needs to change the time, or is this time good still for everyone? Anyone have a strong opinion on that? Okay.
We know Jeremy doesn't like the morning.
Why do we know that? I mean, it's true.
I think you said it when we, remember we had a
We
morning
talked
meeting.
about it with the one morning meeting we had.
Mhm.
Yes.
Why was that
Somebody-
late?
No, you just, somebody had said something like, oh, we really like the meetings in the morning. You're like, no, I hate it.
Yeah.
Big crap.
Although Martha brought muffins,
Sounds-
I mean.
Yeah, yeah. Mornings for coffee and quiet reflection.
You may have said something similar to that.
So, without the change, at Jeremy's request, we'll keep it at 2 PM. Committee meetings being an hour before. The committee meetings are on the back here. We were contemplating kind of going back and forth today that we may add in an audit and finance committee meeting earlier in the year. The only reason for, but I don't know if we'll need to before the March meeting, but
I think
is,
you need more governance to it.
no, they meet right in a row, 3 in a row. Is the only reason we would is that we're starting to go through the process of invoicing and billables, because all of that's gonna come up, and we're working with our, software that we have and our accountants and ECC to try, we gotta come up with a process for that, because it's, you know, the system's gonna be up and running, we're gonna start billing. So, we're gonna work that process, and then we'll probably need an audit and finance review of that. I don't think it'll be prepared or needed before March, but in case it does, there may be one that's added. Otherwise, these should be your set dates. So just FYI ahead of time, in case you guys were dying to know when you would be meeting us again next year. Let me see if I forgot anything. Oh, and then of course, our annual meeting will be on March 19th. That's an important one, so please try to make sure that that's a date that everybody can attend. And of course,
It's this,
oh, is it the 17th?
Is that St. Patrick's Day?
It is the
the
17th.
Tuesday is the 7th.
Is it? Oh,
I didn't realize yours said 19.
I might have said 19th. I don't know why. All right, we're gonna meet on St.
was last
Patrick's
year.
Day. Is that gonna be a problem?
That may be a problem.
You know what, let's just say to be determined on the, I don't know why I looked on my calendar.
was
and had
last
it
year.
wrong. Was it?
Well, this past year, 19. I didn't catch that.
I mean, I know like we could serve green beer.
You saying it's late in the day or early in the day?
Let's put that as a to be determined and we'll discuss. I mean, we could move it to Monday or Wednesday. I don't know, Thomas, you think about that. That might be a rough day. Everyone might come with green mouths.
Wednesday might be rougher.
Maybe we do Monday.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll figure it out. Or the following, there's a lot of Tuesdays in March. We could do the following. All right, we'll figure that out. So let's just make that a to be determined. Thank you for correcting me on that. That was my fault. Now, that's all my update.
Well, we covered a lot. If we could throw that up on the screen.
Yeah.
And Courtney had that ready.
It's not gonna, because I blew it up. So do you want?
I just hit that.
Okay.
There we go. All right, so we're doing last minute, trying to get this NYSEG request for quotations in time for a resolution today. So I did update this, but it didn't get to the publisher in time. So this has got some little newer information than what's in your packet. And I'll be happy to share this spreadsheet with everyone, because I know we want to get the evaluation out prior to the board meeting, but we just didn't have the time. The bids came in right up to 450 yesterday afternoon.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we do the resolution. We'll go through the process of why we had to delay it a little bit, but it's an important piece of getting our project done on time. So we're hoping that it can be voted on today.
Our log jam at the DOT is thawing out nicely. We got 17 permits back in the last couple of weeks. And what that means for us is that now we can have our make-ready construction contractors go to work. and then they'll prep the poles, and then CLW will follow the fiber. So that's good news. Those were all aged priority permits that we had asked DOT to prioritize for us, and they did. And so we're glad to see that movement.
Matt, I got a question on that.
Yep.
So looking at last month, you had 63 approved, 45 pending for New York State DOT permits. So I assume the 17 came from the 45, and now we're down to 28.
It might even actually be less than that.
And some of those are new DOT permits that we need for MIP.
I see. Okay.
So-
All right. Yeah. So 17 of the 45 roughly
Yeah.
in a month.
But-
So good work.
Because it took a while for us to pull the trigger on the city, we started the city make ready probably around January, February of this year. So that's why there's still some permits in the queue.
Was that somebody at DOT did? I mean, that's a pretty big jump. Like, was that political
Well,
pressure
Yeah,
brought?
Yes.
Mark weighed in.
Yeah.
Mark
Yeah.
weighed in?
The CE call.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good.
Like the DOT commissioner.
There you go.
And we sat with the DOT rank and file that really sign off on these permits and find, we had our engineers, what is it that's causing you to send these back so they don't keep sending you stuff that you don't like. And so there was some training involved too, which helped. And it's
There were
helped.
like productive conversations too, because there were some issues on our side, which we talked a little bit about in the last meeting with one of our contractors. And so if you recall, we did an RFP last meeting that you approved to get additional engineers to handle these DOT permits. And we picked and awarded contracts to those that have better relationship with the DOT, more experience with the DOT process, and so a little bit of some guarantees that they can go through a quicker turnaround for us. So we should start to see turnaround even in newer permits that are filed because we have hopefully resolved some of the delays that we were seeing. It's a nice learning process.
I don't know, nice is the right word, but
That's just me being optimistic. You have
It
to
has
learn
been
something new
instructive.
every
It has been
day, and
instructive.
we learned a lot of things new that day.
so in the make ready, our make ready survey and design is 80% complete. We have about 20% pending, and it's really where Charter, Verizon, and the electric utility reconcile their arm wrestling as to who pays for what when they move things up and down on the poles. And that takes a while. And so once that clears, then we move into make-ready construction. Of the make-ready construction, 24% is complete, and that's into the fiber build. And we have 56% underway. Like I said, a lot just was released in the last few weeks. So we have 80% that's in either completed or underway for make-ready construction. The remaining 20% goes back to the 20% pending on the survey and design. So we're seeing the end of the make-ready design, and really we're coming up on the finishing of the make-ready construction, probably by late spring, early June. We should see the make-ready pretty much finished, and we'll be in full build mode at that time. Not that we're not building now. We look down at the next ErieNet construction. I'll come back to the RFQ here, but we have 70.5 miles of aerial and underground fiber installed. And we have 15 more miles that are underway. CLW's building that now. So that's 85.5 miles total. And again, the rest is pending make-ready construction to complete. And it's still, we're trying to stay ahead of CLW with the make-ready construction.
The notes I have, the older packet,
Yeah.
82 miles completed. But
It's a little more, just every day we get a couple more
Why,
miles
why,
done.
I have 82, what was sent out 70 up here.
It's 70 complete, 15 and a half underway. So that's why I was clarifying it in this one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's 85 and a half fiber miles in construction, actually being built, of which 70 we've completed. We still have to splice it and terminate it in the buildings, but it's hanging on the poles now. And then back to, we have a board resolution, if everyone's okay with the fiber construction piece. I'll just back up. We have two make-ready contractors that are nicely authorized. They're overextended with workload, and so they're not quoting when we send them new packages. So we needed to, what's the word, reinforce our pool of make-ready contractors. So we went out for an RFQ, request for quotation, and we had four of the first half of that chart, Northline, Danella, Harlan, and Richardson, they're already under contract with ErieNet. I'm showing their pricing so you can see the new contractors that quoted, how they look relative to our existing contractors. And of the 5 that submitted, we got some good pricing. So my recommendation, D&D is a bit of an outlier, but I would think we should bring all 4, the One Source, Ferguson, Allen Brightway, and O'Connell, and bring them into ErieNet approved contracts. They're already nicely approved. The benefit of doing it like this is that we get the contracts done. It's like a master service agreement. And then we send these RFQs out every week for make ready. So we're constantly shopping the make ready packages amongst our ErieNet approved contractors. So
And they have sufficient capacity to take on work?
Yeah, so I was just gonna add in, we actually had O'Connell reach out to us and say that they had originally bid on the package a while ago, but they were way overpriced. So we didn't pick them as ones that we were gonna do contracts with. They reached out and said, we have the work, or that we have the capacity to do the work, and we'd like to sharpen our pencils. And so what we had done is, we knew that we were struggling with 2 of our contractors because they were over capacity. And so we had to go back to Connect All, because I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but they had the DOT put out a new rate. I'm sorry, the Department of Labor put out a new prevailing wage rate, which does not affect our project. But we wanted it in writing, that if we went out for a new RFQ, that it then wouldn't prompt the new rates. So we had to wait on the DOL's response before we could actually issue the RFQ. Unfortunately, we probably could have done this 3 weeks before, but we were hesitant to do it until we were assured that we would not be subject to the new prevailing wages. Once we got confirmation in writing from the DOL and CAO that it would not spark that, we then went out, and that's why we didn't have the answers until yesterday at 3 or 4 p.m. But what my point is, and what the question is that we do know that these, at least for sure O'Connell, but I think all of them said that they have the capacity to do the work at the similar or lower pricing. And so that's what we need. We need people who can take these projects and get them done and constantly start bidding on these make-ready contracts that go out. So that's what we should be getting with this increase. Yep.
So I'm looking at the last line, right?
Yeah.
What are we getting for that price?
So this is one make-ready package, right, that has a certain number of poles.
So again,
And
it's just,
there's some tree trimming involved, and so the top, the non-billable, that's work ErieNet pays the contractor to do, but we get reimbursed back by NICEAG. So really what we, what we're trying to control the spending a little bit more. You still have to get that work done in a timely manner, but
it's
the
the bottom.
bottom, the billable is ErieNet's expense.
So that's where the E comes in at
And then, so
193.
really, we're looking at those numbers as to who's competitive, right? And you can see the new folks are, some are even better than our current grouping. And every time we do this, it's not always the same contractor that has the best price, because it depends on how busy they are, or some things they like to do better than others. Some people don't like to touch the tree trimming. So we're looking to widen our base, just to have a deeper pool.
Similar to how we did the engineering. So we don't run into that, where we get a contract out there and no one bids on it.
And we're, we got a race to the finish to December 31st on this MIP. So we want to have, a full lineup. And we're going to go through this same exercise with the grid.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. This is just nice.
Yeah. Same idea with grid. We have some contractors with grid. We're not getting as much pushback with grid, but again, I'd like to see a little wider base as we go into 26. So we'll have the same kind of quotation, proposal, summary for next month, but it'll be for the national grid contractors. And it's a good time to do this right now, because we're going into winter. You get the contract work out of the way so that everybody's pre-approved, ready to go. And we'll be doing work through the winter, but it's somewhat winter dependent, depending on how Lake Erie behaves itself, lake effect.
And one thing I noticed, and I have a comment on the weather part in a second, but one thing I've noticed is, as this project has moved along and people know more about it, we have had a bigger increase in responses to our RFPs. Like, if you recall, even our construction, we had one, so, and now we have people who call us and say, we'd like to bid on this. We'd like to be part of this project. So that's good in the way that they're seeing that it's a positive public project, and that we're actually paying people.
Right.
That might have something to do with it. The project's moving forward, it's happening.
Hanging out and saying, hey, I just got paid from ErieNet.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that, and then there's just my one comment on the weather is that I think we just all need to cross our fingers, because I read this fascinating weather story last week, which some of you may have seen, that about the polar vortex. So there is this warming in the North Pole, and this warming trend, and I'm not a weatherman, so I'm not going to get this 100% right, pushes the colder air down. And if that happens without the effect of La Nina, so La Nina can ruin all of this or help us. If La Nina doesn't interfere, it will push this polar vortex down, which will mean that starting at the very end of November, early December, we will have very cold air come into our region and all the way, I think, down to Florida. But with our warm lake, will produce significant increase in their prediction for our snow and weather and coldness for the majority of the winter. So, but La Nina, our friend, has a chance of blocking that, which would give us a more mild winter. And we'll know, I think, in the next few days if that's going to happen. So everyone just think positive about La Nina, and then have her come up and just block this polar vortex, because I don't know, I'm sure some of you are skiers and you want some snow, but let's just not do it this winter. We can save it for next. Okay?
I'm in.
All right, perfect.
Good motion.
Yeah. No.
If only it was that simple.
So that's a board resolution, is to add those 4 NICEAG approved contractors to ErieNet's Great Construction Group. There's also a board resolution for SB&C Services, their underground contract. They've been holding their pricing for 3 years. They're asking for a unit price increase between 4% and 6%. That breaks it down a little more granularly. We went back and said, listen, we're going to do an underground RFP, and that would be a better time for you to submit your updated pricing. And they said, well, we'll hold our pricing except within the city of Buffalo. We're more into the open trenching type situations, because as you cross city streets, there's a lot of utilities where you just can't directionally bore it. You can't just plow it in like we do more in the rural suburban areas. And so they just can't afford to do that. So they'll pass on the work. Well, we don't want them to pass on the work. We need to get this work done. So what we're asking is a resolution to give them the price increase until we get our underground RFP results in on December 10th.
For only,
We have
for
an
city,
RFP.
we'll increase for city,
Yeah.
not for, they're not gonna increase our non-city work,
Right.
just city.
And there's not a lot of city work, but we just like to keep that stuff moving. So the underground RFP was released last week. The proposals are due on December 10th. That gives us time to prepare the evaluation and have a board recommendation for the December 16th, I believe, board meeting. So we'll have, and again, same idea, we'll look at probably keeping SB&C and M&C, our current underground contractors, but widening that pool again to have 2 or 3 more underground contractors. We sent that RFP out to like 17 or 18.
And we did push back. They wanted a full rate increase and we said no. And then this was kind of the negotiated for that piece. And we think it's reasonable, especially since we have a new RFP out.
Just by the time you advertise the RFP, you get the proposals, and you evaluate them, you get a board resolution.
And then
Then it's got to go to Harris Beach to get a contract with their contractor attorneys, and that takes a month. And so now we're out into January before we have new underground contractors. So we want to keep our underground contract options open until we get the new folks under contract. So we can,
So understanding, I mean, I completely understand the pragmatic
Yeah.
approach here. But what gives us the authority to just say, because this is inconvenient, we can just do this anyways?
well, one positive thing, I guess, to look at is we're not looking to increase SB&C's contract.
Okay.
They're held to the same
Not to
contract
exceed.
value. And probably will
Okay, so this is
suspend
within
that
their
contract and
existing.
issue a new contract in January.
And the contract allows us to negotiate. We look through that. So in the contract, it is stated that they can ask us for an increase and we can negotiate with that.
So we didn't have a lot of underground work,
Mhm.
and we were getting better pricing from M&C utilities. So the majority of the underground work has been going to M&C, but they're also overextended, and they're not saying they won't do the work, but they're not agreeing to the timelines, because they just don't have the manpower right now. So again, we need to widen that pool to have more choices.
Understanding this is a stopgap measure,
Right.
is there an estimate of how much work theoretically would be done during this short period of time? Because obviously this, is meant for the stopgap until
Yeah.
the RFP.
We knew it would be more than Melissa's spending authorization. So I think it's probably in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. Not the increase. That would be the total work order we would give out. So the increase might only be 4% of that. So we're Yeah, it's kind of marginal, but it's still procurement policy we want to bring forward. Mr. Polensky thought it was well within our the board's authority to do the resolution. It's just need to make sure you're apprised. So that's on the resolutions. The other one is we have 2 property owners on Elmwood Avenue that we need easements from. Buxton Machine and Tool, that owner is agreeable, but we also want the easement for the neighboring property, which is owned by Benderson. Benderson verbally was agreeable, but we're still working the language out with them.
And this board resolution will just give me the authority to negotiate with them once we can get the communication started back up. So we didn't have to delay.
And to date, there's been no dollar requirements for this. It's just notifying them, reassuring them that we'll disturb their parking lot.
And Courtney will send out this updated one for you so you have the right numbers.
I think we covered, we are getting our first invoice from NetSync on about $340,000 worth of network equipment. So we do need to bring, Mr. Breeden isn't here today, but we do need to bring the county IRU to a close so that we can then, ErieNet can then invoice the county and we can get reimbursed for the Sienna equipment. We finalized our Tech Garden contract, so our fiber monitoring system, we'll put a PO in for that and probably install that sometime in January. We put another RFP out for utility management services. That's whenever we get an 811 ticket and we have to identify ErieNet buried fiber, we need a service provider to be able to do that work. So that's more of a maintenance and support function, but we want to get that contractor in place. And I think Melissa hit the highlights of the rest. There's a final board resolution for an NFTA proposal. You recall, all our proposals have to go to New York State Authority Budget Office, ABO. And so we want to get in front of this. And the NFTA has a very interesting project. They're going to put radios in their buses to control the signal lights along the Bailey Ave corridor. And they make that a bus rapid transit corridor. And so they want some networking access for 13 different stops along Bailey Avenue. But it's 13, but you need a stop northbound and a stop southbound.
Is this what we talked about at the annual meeting
Yeah.
last year? They presented?
It was one of the things.
Yeah.
They have a number of smart
I see.
transportation initiatives.
I did a presentation at, I don't think it was for NFTA, it was for NITEC. I did it at their annual meeting and NFTA came up to me at that meeting and that's kind of where these discussions started.
So was it NITEC that presented to us last
Yes,
year?
it was NITEC. And then the NFTA, a woman from NFTA and myself just presented last week at a ITS conference, which is
Intelligent transportation.
Yes, intelligent transportation. I was like, what was that again? We did a presentation and actually had a few people come to me, some that sell fiber, but anyway, about the project and the partnership of ErieNet working with other governments, and they're using federal funding for that Bailey Avenue project anyway. So it was good. It's been a good partnership and it will be nice revenue for us as well.
It's a good project. Yeah, Again, it ends up being about 26 connections. Let's see it here. Scroll down. Yeah. So we get a one-time $69,400 IRU fee and the monthly recurring maintenance of $723 per month. And that goes up 3% each year. And the build cost is 100% funded by an FTA.
So we do what they reimburse us.
Right.
We'll do, yeah, they asked if we could
We
do a
do.
25% instead of the 50, I think, but,
Well, we're negotiating.
because they have milestones too.
But we get some money up front for cash flow and then
Yeah.
they reimburse us as we submit payment applications.
I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Matt. Moving on to number 4, the committee reports, same 2 for number 5 and number 6. Move right into our resolutions for today. Right to 2025-31. Resolution of the ErieNet Local Development Corporation authorizing the negotiation of private utility easements to provide access to underserved lands located in Buffalo, New York for the construction and installation of fiber optic infrastructure. We just talked about this easements for 2 properties in Elmwood. I'll take a motion.
Motion.
Second. Motion by Chairman Toth, seconded by Bill. Any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Resolution 2025-32, resolution of the ErieNet Local Development Corporation authorizing 1, the issuance of a customer proposal to NTA, and 2, making certain findings as required by the New York State Public Authorities law relating to the disposition of certain property owned by the corporation. Also, we just spoke about. And take a motion.
So moved.
Seconded by Freeze. Any other questions?
Yeah, one question. How long, you said,
20-year IRU.
no, how long, physically down Bailey? What's the
distance?
Yeah, the distance, thank you, that's the word that for some reason I was struggling with.
I don't know.
You know, it's,
There is a,
if you throw that, it's
Go
there
down.
was a.
it's the blue chart right at the end, it's the last, yeah.
Oh, go up a little bit, right there.
So they're utilizing 34, almost 35 miles of our backbone. Valley Avenue, that stretch isn't 35 miles, it's probably 11. No, it's not even that.
I think it's 7, or for some reason, 6 in my head.
So what we're doing is we're building 2.7 miles of laterals to connect those stations to wherever the closest backbone connection is. And so then they're consuming 35 miles of ErieNet's fiber, but it's not a linear path.
But I'm just wondering for the user, for the people on Bailey,
I think their project is, I think it's 7 miles.
7 miles on Bailey. And I suspect that this is, if it works, will be, NFTA will want to replicate.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
So if there's a bus on Bailey and a bus on Kensington, who wins?
Bailey, after this is in.
Well, I'm saying if they replicate it,
Right.
like.
Right.
Yeah, they took like
Yeah.
they
They
took,
just both.
they're doing other updates. So they took a low income area that had other issues, like with sidewalks and access and disability access and things like that. And so those upgrades are all gonna happen along with this funding, but this is their pilot project, like.
Any more
They
questions?
aggregate a ton of savings. Going up there, really taking it out.
All right, this was properly motioned by Jason Keating and seconded by Elizabeth Freeze. All in favor? Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Resolution 2025-33.
Yeah,
Okay. So resolution of the ErieNet Local Development Corporation authorizing the negotiation and execution of an amendment to the agreement between the corporation, SBC Services, 59 LLC, to contemplate amendments to the labor rates as more particularly specified herein. I'll take a motion. Take a motion.
Nobody wants to move on it?
I'll move on.
All right, thank you, Jason. Seconded by Ken Castle.
okay.
Discussion.
In the third whereas paragraph, I would suggest that the word furnishment be removed and replaced with the word provision.
Does anyone have any objections to
You
that?
got that on the record?
It's the third whereas, second line.
Right, well, that's the middle of the page.
Provision,
Yes.
furnishment, the provision.
Even though I will say we did establish that furnishment is a,
But Jason searched and it
Right.
was-
Yeah, so we did establish that it is a legitimate term, other than the fact in the legal sense, it is not deemed as a valid term.
oh.
and it is deemed archaic.
Yes, it's deemed.
It is deemed archaic, which I did see. So we'll tell Andrew he's very archaic. Do you,
I'm a little archaic myself.
Strike furnishment,
Deem me that.
provision and installation of.
do you know where? Do you have it? Okay.
All right. Any more discussion on that specific?
Can I do that or do I have to have Andrew do it?
No, you can do it.
Okay. All in favor?
It's just like if there was a suicide.
Last resolution for the day, resolution 2025-34, resolution of the ErieNet Local Development Corporation authorizing the negotiation and execution of master services agreements to engage Ferguson Electric, O'Connell Electric, One Source Power, Allen Brightway Electrical and Utility Contractors to provide make-ready fiber optic infrastructure construction services related to, MySafe infrastructure. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Take a second. Second.
Oop.
Any discussion or questions about this resolution? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Position, abstentions, motion carries. Before we close, any other concerns, questions? Our next board meeting is December 16th, 2025, same time, same place.
Well, it might be in the other room.
Maybe not the same place. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Have a nice day.